Fantasy fanfiction. Homelander is coming, fortunately I am Doomsday Superman. Chapter 21. Late at night, Yi Meng returned to his single-family house, took out his mobile phone, and saw the concerned text messages from several people. There were Meng Tifa, Pan Hu, and school teachers, and even the class monitor Yang Wei sent a text message of concern and greetings. Yi Meng replied to all the social text messages one by one, saying that after he was fine, he sat on the sofa in the living room, closed his eyes and meditated to review everything that happened today. First of all, I learned the behind-the-scenes truth of the current real world. Perhaps this world has been invaded by special existences in various sci-fi, fantasy, horror and other film and television works of previous lives since 200 years ago. And the ones who invaded were all villains. Among them, including but not limited to Homelander, Dragon Girl and so on. As a result, the world has ushered in global unification, a technological explosion, and federal organizations such as the Supernatural Department. According to Yi Meng, the so-called Supernatural Department that suppresses intrusion and monitors containment is no different from the S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Marvel Universe. They are all models of more than enough and not enough, and they are also corroded by the existence of external intrusions that have been attacked. Now it is just a stronger external invasion, repelling a weaker external invasion, and sooner or later it will usher in an unbalanced collapse. It's less optimistic than previously thought. Yi Meng rubbed his slightly hot temples, thinking that the Supernatural Department could at least be trusted, but he didn't expect that even the head of the department organization was a Homelander. Yi Meng originally wanted to make some profit in the dream, but the idea of becoming a rich man in reality was also shattered. He didn't want to be killed by a familiar but unfamiliar film and television invading creation one day in the future. I need to get stronger. At least, strong enough to surpass Homelander. Yi Meng opened his eyes, and an imperceptible virtual silver light flashed across them. Today, it is not for nothing. In addition to knowing the cruel truth of the real world, his own artificial intelligence characteristics have also broken through a stage of bottlenecks. The brain consciousness can not only clearly divide the disk-like computer storage, but also establish a connection with nearby electronic products. Yi Meng has tried it. At present, the distance for establishing a connection is 10 meters. Yi Meng can establish a connection with the electronic products within 10 meters of the body, surveillance probes, mobile phones, computer hosts, projectors, wireless earphones, etc., and turn them on or off, even from there get intelligence information on the function. Somewhat similar to system intrusion. Definitely. Real artificial intelligence can borrow satellites and base stations to carry out shuttle intrusions over ultra-long distances, and can also read and tamper with program information at will, and completely control electronic products as a duplication. As long as the technology in the world does not recover, it was impossible to be killed in ancient times. 1000th. Yi Meng muttered to himself. He felt that his current characteristic state was equivalent to 1,000th of a real super artificial intelligence. Although it is only 1 in 1,000, this is equivalent to initially possessing a special ability that surpasses ordinary humans, and it also allowed him to successfully deceive the containment inspection of the Guardian Dragon Girl in the Eastern jurisdiction. This is all thanks to the authority of Iron Man driver Happy Hogan in the Dream Marvel world. The feature feedback obtained from the dream world today is not at the same level as before. Yi Meng's thinking became clear. Before, he mistakenly believed that the feedback between dreams and reality was related to his exploration of the dream world. Now it seems that it is not the scope of dream exploration, but his control over the dream world area. And that's it. In the dream world, the stronger and better my dream avatar is, the more abilities I can acquire in reality. Yi Meng whispered. He already had a premonition in his heart. In Marvel's dream, the moment when the artificial intelligence incarnation gets rid of the Stark family and truly gains freedom to become an independent artificial intelligence. In reality, the characteristics of artificial intelligence will usher in class metamorphosis again. Yi Meng took a shower, changed into a set of short-sleeved pajamas, and lay down on the bed. All kinds of incidents that happened in the real world made him eager to gain more power in the dream, so as to gain the ability to protect himself in the future. The lights went out, and the room was enveloped in a silent darkness. Yi Meng's body, mind and spirit are extremely tired today, so he soon reached the ignorant state of falling asleep. At the last moment of dreaming, a thought suddenly popped up in Yi Meng's mind for no reason. Various villains and creations from the previous film and television world invaded and corrupted the real world. For a special dream like him, it is not so much invaded by the outside world, but more like he is the invader. If he is the invading party, is the world in the dream really just a false dream? Yi Meng's consciousness was in a daze, and before he could continue to think, his consciousness had already been pulled to one place. He fell asleep. Fall, fall, fall. Consciousness surfaced, and the eyes suddenly became clear. Yi Meng has become a virtual artificial intelligence, and is currently boarding in the built-in network of a private factory. The surveillance probe has become his eyes, the radio has become his ears, the air conditioner in the room allows him to perceive the outside world, and the host computer is his temporary brain body. In private factories, he is everywhere. The dream world time, suspended at the moment when he left the dream during the day, now flows again. At the moment, the interior of a private factory built as a high-level special effects shooting location. The urban elite man, dressed as a stuntman and with his hair combed and polished, was showing a look of panic. Ultron. As a former employee of Stark Industries, Quentin Baker naturally understood the meaning of the name, Ultron. That represents the highest level of technological creation in the Earth world, the ultimate artificial intelligence created by Iron Man Tony Stark to defend the world. After devouring artificial intelligence JARVIS, Ultron became the strongest artificial intelligence on Earth. It tried to destroy Earth, and almost succeeded. But, artificial intelligence Ultron should have been wiped out by the Avengers in Sokovia many years ago. Quentin Baker quickly calmed down and looked around without anyone. How do you prove that you are Ultron? I'm here, isn't it proof? The mechanically cold voice continued to sound, with a hint of humanized banter. I don't die that easily. Quentin was silent. Indeed, the network system protection level here was set by his accomplice of the former Stark engineer, and even the SHIELD organization did not think he could break through. Only artificial intelligence can easily break into the network system here without triggering the protection alarm. And with independent thinking and highly anthropomorphic artificial intelligence, who else is there besides Ultron? Yi Meng didn't continue talking. Mysterious guest Quentin Baker is a smart man, because he is a scheming smart man, so as long as he reveals something, the other party will automatically complete it. What do you want to do? Why are you looking for me? Quentin clenched his fists, gritted his teeth and asked at the computer on one side. All the computers and focus lights on the scene were lit up, and the relentless voice of the machinery sounded from every audio built in the private factory. I will take revenge on Stark Industries and wipe out the Avengers. What? The mysterious guest Quentin Baker was shocked. Take revenge on Stark Industries and wipe out the Avengers. Quentin Baker's complexion kept changing. If this passage of words spread out, it would be enough to cause a sensation all over the world. Quentin Baker took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Aren't you afraid that I will go to the members of Avengers and tell them that you are not dead yet?" The cold voice of the machine came from all directions, and continued to joke, "You wouldn't do that." In this Setsuna, Quentin Baker has a feeling that he has been completely seen through. To tell the Avengers, he really wouldn't do that. Not to mention, once I give feedback to Avengers or Stark Industries, my next plan to prepare marketing personnel to become the much anticipated superhero will be scrapped. Actually, deep down in his heart, Quentin Baker also wants revenge on Stark Industries. He always believed that it was Iron Man Tony Stark who robbed himself of his contribution and brilliance to super virtual imaging technology. As for the Avengers, Quentin Baker does want to join as a superhero, but if the rest of the Avengers die, doesn't the Avengers belong to him? Therefore, what Yi Meng said just now coincided with Quentin Baker's thoughts hidden deep in his heart. Under such circumstances, how could he reveal the news that Ultron is still alive in advance? Ultron's mechanically cold voice continued to reach his ears. Definitely. If you dare to leak it, I will kill you in advance. Quentin Baker breathed a sigh of relief when he heard the words. His eyes pretended to be angry and widened, and his face turned livid. You. All right. Quentin Baker obviously struggled in his heart, then sighed in pain, and smiled helplessly. What do you want me to do? What day is it? Ultron asked inexplicably. What day of the week? Quentin Baker was taken aback, and subconsciously replied, Thursday. Aren't you trying to plot the Stark Industrial Authority under the name of Peter Parker? Ultron Machinery said, I need your assistance after getting that authority. Quentin Baker was startled that the other party even knew about his upcoming plan. It seems that the opponent is really the artificial intelligence Ultron that was not eliminated at the beginning. But Quentin Baker changed his mind. Ultron needs Spider-Man's Stark Industry Authority. Doesn't this mean that the other party has lost control of Stark Industry now? Thinking of this, Quentin Baker suddenly had an idea. It can be. Quentin Baker showed an embarrassed look, but what good does it do for me? Ultron responded quickly, after you assist me, Stark Industries will be mine, and Avengers will be yours. Quentin Baker struggled again, finally gritted his teeth, and waved his fist. Deal. Ultron asked, what are you going to do? Quentin Baker chuckled. Since the other party knew about the plan, he didn't hide the details anymore, and said honestly, I have high-level virtual imaging projection technology, and I have a few Stark drones in my hand, which can make the projection imaging to the outside world to the extent that it looks like real ones. I also know Spider-Man, that is, Peter Parker's identity as a high school student, and I also know that their school summer vacation will travel to Europe. At that time, I will pretend to be a superhero from another multi-universe, Mysterio, and fight against the world-destroying monsters forged by high-level virtual imaging projections, elements. In this way, I will establish a superhero like Iron Man. Quote. Plus some revealing, and a frustrating blow to Spider-Man in order to swindle that Stark access from him. When Yi Meng, the avatar of artificial intelligence, heard this, he knew that Quentin Baker must succeed. After all, isn't this the storyline in the Marvel movie, Spider-Man Far From Home? Next week is summer vacation, I'll wait for your good news. Yi Meng, who was disguised as Ultron, dropped this sentence and left. Happy cooperation. Quentin Baker showed a sincere smile. Until Yi Meng left and the special effects stage of the private factory fell silent again, the smile on Quentin Baker's face did not disappear. Just now, everything was naturally his disguise. Stark Industries to you, Avengers to me. Hee hee, I want them all. Quentin Baker smiled coldly and thought to himself. He decided to pretend to cooperate with Ultron first, wait until the summer vacation to cheat the authority from Spider-Man, and then clean up the Spider-Man who betrayed the Avengers, and the supervillain Ultron who tried to destroy the world, in one fell swoop. At that time, Mysterio will become the first hero, inheriting everything from Stark Industries and Avengers. AI Yi Meng leaves the private factory and returns to Morgan's family cabin. Just now, the mysterious guest was acting, so why wasn't he acting? The bureau has been laid out, just wait for the summer vacation to come. Yi Meng thought to himself. At that time, it depends on who is the real actor and who is the final winner. Wake up in the morning. Returning to reality, Yi Meng originally didn't want to go to school after experiencing yesterday's incident, but thought that there were only 2 days left. After the federal college entrance examination, high school life would be completely over. The real life that was originally comfortable and flat may also be gone forever. Yi Meng still put on her school uniform and went out. Step into the school gate as usual. Yi Meng originally thought that he would scare away a large number of students like yesterday morning. After all, it is normal to feel scared after watching the massacre video circulated 3 years ago. Unexpectedly, this time, Yi Meng has just entered the school gate, and has indeed once again become the focus of attention of students inside and outside the school. However, most of the students did not show the same expression of fear as yesterday, but were full of envy and jealousy, as well as an incomprehensible strange look in their eyes. The eyes of some male students were even slightly red, like an angry bull, wanting to give Yi Meng a head, but was quickly grabbed by other male students. Can you beat him? Those male students were still a little upset at first, but when they heard what their classmates said, they immediately withered away. The massacre video circulated yesterday is still vivid, who dares to fight him? Yi Meng frowned, wondering if the changes in his reputation were too frequent and severe. Or, what happened again? Yi Meng was about to tap his consciousness to the mobile phones of nearby students, when he saw a dark and strong 1.9-meter-old man rushing towards him. Pan Hu. Yi Meng greeted him, but saw that Pan Hu's expression was not quite right this time. He was walking like a menace, and his red eyes were full of anger. Pan Hu came to the front, raised his sandbag-sized fist, and swung it down towards Yi Meng's face, but stopped halfway, and gave a thumbs up. Awesome. Niu Dafa, my boss, how did you catch up with Mengtifa? Tell me quickly. Pan Hu was so excited that it was as if he had won a prize of 10 million yuan. His face was full of red, and he was so excited that he couldn't restrain himself, as if Yi Meng would kill himself on the spot if he didn't tell him. How did you know? Yi Meng was taken aback. Pan Hu stared at his round eyes as big as cowbells. It's not just me who knows, the whole school, no, everyone in the whole world knows. He took out his mobile phone, flicked it quickly, and opened an early campus news. Look. Yi Meng looked at it, and the corners of his eyes couldn't help twitching slightly. What is Dreams Century Little Princess Tifa's open love relationship? What? The man is a violent high school student. What is the secret of puppy love that the schoolmaster girl and the poor student otaku can't tell? Let's write a novel here, right? Yi Meng let out a sigh of relief. It seems that he has been too immersed in falling asleep and exploring dreams recently, so that he has been slightly out of touch with current events in the real world, and he has not even been aware of some things that happened to him in time. This also reminded Yi Meng. After all, yesterday, without even knowing that the video from 3 years ago had leaked out, he was taken to containment and isolation by people from the supernatural department. Every time I wake up in the future, I am afraid that I will be the first to understand what happened in the real world. Yi Meng thought about it. Pan Hu looked straight at Yi Meng. What do you think? How else can I see it? Yi Meng spread his hands and said calmly, well, Tifa is indeed my girlfriend. It was 3 years ago, after that incident, that I met her privately. It's actually true. Pan Hu was so excited that he trembled all over. That's Meng Tifa. The girl of heaven in our school, the spokesperson of Dream Century. Did you take it down in the end? This is even on the hot searches in the Eastern jurisdiction. Well, although it caused Dream Century's stock to drop to the limit at the opening this morning. When Pan Hu said this, he glanced at Yi Meng in embarrassment. Definitely, you can't blame the boss. It can only be said that Meng Tifa's popularity on the internet is too high, and is the image representative of Dream Century. Pan Hu's words stopped abruptly, and he looked at the direction behind Yi Meng. Yi Meng looked back, and sure enough, he saw a black-haired girl in a school uniform and skirt walking into the school gate. This time, the other party no longer passed by pretending not to know each other as before, but walked straight towards the two of them. Under the gaze of the students on campus. I remember, your name is Pan Hu. Tifa came to the front with light steps, her bright black hair fluttered and her youthful and graceful figure swayed, and she greeted with a smile, I've often heard Yi Meng mention you. You, hello. Pan Hu scratched his head nervously. It was the first time he saw that this usually arrogant and lonely girl of heaven would show such an approachable and soft side. Definitely. He also knew that this sweet and bright smile was for the people around him. Boss, I'm leaving first. Let's talk later. Such a big man hesitated at a loss, then quickly dropped a sentence, and ran away towards the teaching building before Yi Meng could respond. He's a nice person. The girl covered her mouth and smiled softly, looking at Yi Meng with a smile on her face. Let's go. Yi Meng didn't say much, and lifted his right elbow out. Tifa's face was slightly flushed, but there was no hesitation, and she reached out to hold Yi Meng's arm. The two walked into the campus side by side like this. In fact, in terms of appearance alone, Yi Meng is not inferior to Tifa at all, and walking together is very suitable. The high school campus fell silent for a while, as if the heartbreaking voices of many students could be heard. The teachers in the school also pretended not to see it. Although the laws in the Eastern jurisdiction are relatively conservative, and love between high school students is prohibited, the college entrance examination is now the day after tomorrow. After the federal college entrance examination, the youth of many students will end here, and their lives will also change to different paths. So, who has the heart to break the most beautiful curtain call of youth? A corner of the campus. A tall and handsome male student has an extremely ugly face. The whole school knows that he has been pursuing Tifa for 3 years, but the other party was taken down by a commoner student who never looked at him 3 years ago. For him, this is the greatest setback and humiliation he has suffered since he was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. In particular, I recalled the words that Meng Tifa's driver, Chen Hong, conveyed by the way when he handed over the secretly photographed photos. Wang Zan was aggrieved and wanted to vomit blood. The day of reviewing at school is over, and the evening is over. Yi Meng returned to his house directly in Tifa's car. Chen Hong in the driver's seat kept a straight face the whole time, and coughed. Sister file size, because of your willful announcement this morning, the stock price of Dreams Century has not only dropped by the limit, but also led us who are already competing with Dynasty Technology into trouble. Meng Tifa frowned slightly, and said in a dissatisfied tone, Aunt Chen, why are you saying this all of a sudden? Chen Hong sighed secretly, raised her eyes to look in the rearview mirror, and glanced at the silver-haired boy sitting next to Tifa. I have to say that the opponent's appearance is really good, but what's the use of just a vase? It's a pity, I can't help but miss file size likes it. Chen Hong parked outside the house with the car and waited, while Yi Meng and Tifa entered the single-family house. Aunt Chen is actually a very good person, that is. Tifa whispered. Actually, I can understand her, really. Yi Meng shrugged indifferently. 3 years ago, even I didn't think I was worthy to stand beside you and hold you in my arms. Tifa smiled at him, what about now? Yi Meng looked at Tifa in embarrassment. You won't let me spit out what I've already eaten. You. Ask for a hit. Tifa blushed and punched Yi Meng. You practiced secretly, didn't you? Yi Meng held his chest and took a breath. Tifa's punch was indeed more powerful than expected. Tifa hastily reached out and rubbed it, and asked curiously, why did you suddenly disclose that to the public if you didn't ask me? You must have your reasons for doing things. And I think, high school is almost over, and there is really no need to hide it anymore. Yi Meng replied calmly. After knowing the truth behind the scenes of this world, he feels that his state of mind has changed a lot. In the past, he would do things more in line with the general laws of society, but now he only has the desire to pursue extraordinary power. Money, reputation, class, fallacies. In an extraordinary world where the heavens invade from time to time, it's all fiction. Only when the extraordinary power he possesses is strong enough can he ensure the safety of himself and those around him, and the rules can no longer restrain him. Meng Tifa stared blankly at the confident silver-haired boy, as if she saw another similar figure faintly, which caused her heart to be deeply missed and shaken, so that the corner of her mouth involuntarily raised a beautiful arc. Yi Meng continued, I have developed a new technology, which should be able to be greatly optimized and improved on the basis of the ordinary projection technology launched by your Dreams Century company. Okay. Tifa nodded. Yi Meng glanced at her in surprise. I thought you would be more surprised by this. I'm not lying, I have developed a high-level virtual imaging technology, which should help your company get rid of the so-called competitive dilemma. Tifa smiled, eyes bent like a crescent moon, stepped forward and stretched out her slender arms to hug Yi Meng vigorously, as if she wasn't the slightest surprised that he could develop a new projection technology. I've been surprised enough. She smiled, her fair and soft face was buried on Yi Meng's body, and there was a sparkle of light in the depths of her pale red eyes at some point. That night, Marvel Dreamland. A cabin owned by the Stark family. In a small room. Morgan, congratulations. You have already learned all the knowledge in high school. With your current knowledge level, if you consolidate it, you can enter university for further study. For the first time, Yi Meng, the embodiment of artificial intelligence, did not hesitate to praise and affirm himself through computer audio. Morgan, who was being taught, was indeed worthy of this praise. At only 6 years old, he has learned the knowledge of high school, and he is a well-deserved genius. But this time, the little girl sitting on the chair did not respond, but looked sideways at the sunny summer forest scene outside the window of the wooden house. Teacher Yiba, summer vacation is coming. Morgan pouted softly. Yeah, it's summer vacation starting tomorrow. Artificial intelligence Yi Meng chimed in. This is also the day when he reached a cooperation with the mysterious guest. It means that the time for him, as a domestic artificial intelligence, to betray and break away from the Stark family is coming. Marvel Universe. In downtown New York, a private factory with a sign prohibiting pedestrians from entering is erected on the outer wall. Special Effects Arena. Quentin Baker, wearing a special effects uniform and high-level virtual VR goggles, stood in the center of the stage. His hair and beard were specially trimmed and sexy. At first glance, his face looked a bit like Tony Stark. This is naturally a shape he made specially for the plan. "Are you ready?" Quentin Baker asked in a deep voice, like a leader giving orders. Beside the special effects stage of at the moment, there are also other accomplices in 2s and 3s sitting on the computer, typing on the keyboard quickly with both hands and 5 fingers. The network has been deployed with Europe and Italy, and the delay can be maintained at no more than 0.01 s for a long time. A private plane has been arranged, with 5 drones on it, and 3 spares, enough to form the desired effect. I have no problem here. The special effects of the elemental monsters made before have been loaded on the virtual projection of the drone, and the naked eye can't tell the real from the fake. Very good. Quentin Baker nodded in satisfaction, and said in a deep voice, "Remember, your side is the most important. After practicing so many times, don't make mistakes for me. That kid Spider-Man is very sharp, and he made a little mistake. They may all be noticed by the other party. We are plotting against the members of Avengers and Stark Industries. Once the matter is revealed, the future of you and I will be ruined for the rest of our lives." Speaking of this, Quentin Baker's face showed a cold and fierce look, and his eyes glanced fiercely at his accomplices on the field. "Understood, there will be no problem." The cheeky middle-aged man who controlled the special effects master control computer nodded quickly. As a former Stark engineer, he naturally knew that once things were exposed, his life would be completely ruined. However, if they succeed, they will obtain a part of the Stark Industrial Authority, which is enough to gamble everything and do whatever it takes to obtain it. But at this time, the cheeky man's face changed. He typed the keyboard faster, and looked at the computer screen in disbelief. "Wait, why is the system suddenly out of control? It seems to be hacked." "What did you say?" The 2 accomplices next to him also turned pale when they heard the words. "Quiet." Quentin Baker was calm enough, and suddenly respectfully asked the heir, "Are you here?" Who else but them? The other 3 accomplices were stunned. "What day is it today?" A cold mechanical voice suddenly sounded from the special effects audio. "Friday." Quentin Baker seemed to be on the signal and smiled. "Everything is going as planned. Peter Parker has already taken a flight to Europe for a summer vacation today. I will also take a private jet tonight. If there is no accident, we will complete our plan in Italy tomorrow. Achieve that result." "Very well, I will keep an eye on you." Yi Meng left the built-in network after leaving this sentence. "Welcome to your supervision." Quentin Baker showed a sincere smile. "We are the best partners, aren't we?" The moment Yi Meng left, the system is fully restored again. The other accomplices looked at the computer screen in amazement. "Baker, who just invaded our system?" the cheeky man asked in surprise. "You don't have to worry about this, just act according to the plan." Quentin Baker responded calmly, without revealing the existence of Ultron. "Tomorrow, he will become the much-anticipated superhero mystery guest, like the previous Iron Man, leading the Avengers to a new era." Quentin Baker sneered in his heart, "Have you been staring at me secretly? After obtaining that authority, I will be the first to destroy you. Ultron. ... This night, Quentin Baker flew to Italy with his own special effects props and a sleight of hand. Happy Hogan cheered in the luxury car he was driving because he had a date with Aunt May. Peter Parker was lying in a double room in an apartment somewhere in Italy, tossing and turning facing Iron Man's relic in his arms. Pepper Potts was alone in Stark Industries headquarters, working late into the night in the top-floor office, looking out wearily at the city that never sleeps under the stars. This night, one of the Stark family properties, in the lakeside wooden house with the lights turned off. The 6-year-old Morgan was already lying on the bed and fell asleep, breathing lightly and evenly, but the sleeping appearance was not very good, and the thin quilt was kicked away with her little feet. A cleaning machine in the corner of the room suddenly started up, and a mechanical arm quietly stretched out to cover the quilt back. The next day, a colorful afternoon, the black luxury car drove through the forest passage and stopped in front of the lakeside wooden house. A fat middle-aged man in a suit opened the door and got out of the car, and rang the doorbell. "Who?" A childish question came from inside the room. "Morgan, it's me, Uncle Hogan. Happy Hogan was obviously in a good mood, and he shouted with a smile, "I brought a gift to visit you." "Oh, a gift." Little Loli struggled on tiptoe, quickly opened the door, and took Happy's gift away. "Your mother isn't home, is she?" Happy Hogan looked at the deserted interior of the wooden house and the state of little Lolita, and found that she did not feel lost about it. Poor kid, he's used to being alone. Happy Hogan felt a little ashamed, so he postponed his date with May, and decided to stay here a little longer at night to spend more time with Morgan, who was lonely and guarding the house. After the two finished their dinner, they sat on the sofa on the first floor and watched TV. When he learned that Morgan had finished high school knowledge, Happy Hogan was stunned. "It's only been a few months, and you've already reached the point where you can go to college." "Yeah, it's all thanks to Yiba." Halfway through Morgan's speech, he stopped talking again. "By the way," Happy Hogan looked at little Lolita, and said puzzledly, "I remember, Miss Potts once mentioned that you also have an artificial intelligence. What is it called?" Morgan pursed her lips and didn't answer. Just in time, a news report was broadcast on TV, diverting Happy Hogan's attention. "This is Venice, Italy. At noon and night today, huge monsters called elementals appeared here. Fortunately, there are two heroes who took the initiative to prevent the disaster from happening. They're Night Monkey and Mystery." The news report also released live video footage. A fire giant monster larger than the floor can be seen raging in the city, and a figure in black tights with cobwebs and a helmeted man in wind armor attack the monster. Happy Hogan was so dumbfounded that he almost spit out his saliva. Night Monkey. Another coat of color and he'll know it's Spider-Man. The other side. Italy, Venice, inside a late-night bar. A curly-haired boy in his early 16th year and a mature man in armor were sitting at the bar and talking enthusiastically. "Mr. Quentin Baker, you are amazing." Peter Parker was still wearing a black tights uniform, and said with emotion, "So easily defeated a powerful monster like the elemental crowd." "This is nothing." The mysterious guest Quentin Baker had already taken off his helmet, and said in a low and serious tone, "I just don't want this world to suffer the same cruel experience as ours, even if it costs me my life." Peter Parker looked at the deep and upright mysterious guest, and suddenly went into a trance. "What's the matter, Peter?" Quentin Baker smiled what he thought was sexy. "Mr. Baker, you are very similar to a person in my world," Peter Parker said, taking out a pair of smart glasses from his body, the owner of this pair of glasses. Quentin Baker squinted his eyes, stared at the smart glasses, and asked in surprise knowingly, "What is this?" "Edith, I can control the security system of this world, but I don't think I can have it," Peter Parker said ashamedly, looking at the smart glasses in his hand. He suddenly remembered something and said, "To the next Tony Stark, I believe in you." "What did you say?" Quentin Baker looked at him curiously. "That's what Mr. Stark said when he handed me the glasses." When Peter Parker said this, he looked at the smart glasses, then at Mysterio, and suddenly there was a ray of understanding in his eyes. "Yes, it must be like this. He knows every mistake I made before, knows I'm definitely not ready for this right now. Then why did he give you this pair of glasses?" Quentin Baker showed a puzzled look. "Because, maybe he didn't give Edito to me, but entrusted me to choose someone who should have it." Peter Parker was very excited, as if he suddenly found a good reason to put down the heavy stone on his body. "It made a lot more sense. He always knew I would do the right thing. The world needs the next Iron Man, and that won't be me. I'm just a 16-year-old kid. There needs to be an adult like you, as good as Tony Stark. Only then can he shoulder this authority and responsibility." Enough. The mysterious guest Quentin Baker was ecstatic in his heart, but continued to pretend to be displeased on the surface. "Peter, you have to believe in yourself. I'm doing the right thing right now." Spider-Man Peter Parker took a deep breath and said, "I want to transfer the authority of these glasses, Edith, to you. A real superhero. You really want to do that?" The mysterious guest Quentin Baker suppressed his excitement, but still had a dignified expression of indifference. "It's going to be a success," Quentin Baker thought. "Yes." Peter Parker nodded firmly, activated the smart glasses directly, and said, "Edith, I want to transfer the authority to Quentin Baker." Quentin Baker held his breath, clenched his fists under the table, and suddenly asked subconsciously, "What day is it today?" Without hesitation, Peter Parker replied casually, Saturday. The smart glasses immediately issued a confirmation sound. Are you sure about transferring permissions? Wait. Quentin Baker suddenly realized something, and shouted, Peter, don't be sure yet. However, Peter Parker had already been fooled into making up his mind. Afraid of being rejected by the mysterious guest, he hastily added, definitely. Dee. In the late-night bar, there was a pleasant voice. The system has determined that the authority has been transferred to Quentin Baker, Saturday. On the other side, the lakeside cabin, one of the Stark family properties. Happy, come here and don't tell me earlier. Pepper Potts, who had just got off work, opened the door and walked into the living room, only to see Happy Hogan standing in front of the TV with a serious expression on his cell phone, while little Morgan sat on the sofa with his mouth pursed. What happened? Pepper Potts asked curiously. Happy Hogan's eyelids kept twitching, and he asked nervously, Pepper, let me ask, what is the name of the artificial intelligence hosting Morgan? Pepper Potts replied definitely, no, just call Saturday. Quote, the system has determined that the authority has been transferred to Quentin Baker, Saturday. The feedback sound from the built-in intelligence system of the glasses made the late-night bar suddenly fall into dead silence. The mysterious guest Quentin Baker couldn't hide his out-of-control emotions, and shouted in disbelief, Saturday. Who is Saturday? Saturday. Peter Parker muttered to himself. I remember, Mr. Tony Stark's second-generation artificial intelligence is called Friday. What did you say? Quentin Baker put his hands directly on Peter Parker's shoulders, and his pupils were turbulent like an earthquake. As a smart person, he instantly connected many previous things together. But why would I involuntarily ask that question? Quentin Baker's eyes froze for a while. What day is it today? What day is it today? What day is it today? These cold mechanical words suddenly echoed in Quentin Baker's mind. Since last week, when the first cooperation with Ultron was reached, Ultron has raised this question for no reason. At first, Quentin Baker also felt strange, and after a week of repeated interviews every day, Quentin Baker also got used to it, and took this as a secret signal with the artificial intelligence Ultron. Then, just now, Setsuna was about to get the artificial intelligence Edith from Spider-Man Peter Parker. Being overly excited and nervous, he couldn't help thinking of the artificial intelligence Ultron, and remembered the question that Ultron asked the most, a daily question that he was so familiar with as a code. Whether it is to confirm whether the other party is still watching, or to receive a hypnotic ability-like hint in his heart, he opened his mouth and raised it naturally in an instant. What day is it today? Yes, today is indeed Saturday, which is also the day Quentin Baker and Ultron set up last week. But what if Saturday is also an existing name? Since Iron Man's second-generation artificial intelligence is called Friday, it is normal to have an artificial intelligence called Saturday, right? Quentin Baker felt a chill rushing up his spine. From the first meeting, the other party had already begun to implant hints to himself, and was secretly manipulating the overall situation. For the arrival of this moment tonight, Quentin Baker suddenly trembled all over, grabbed the glasses from Peter Parker's hand, and shouted calmly, Edith, I want to control Stark's global security network. No permission, your permission was removed 10 seconds ago. How so? Mysterious guest Quentin Baker's eyes turned red all of a sudden, and then he turned his angry eyes to Peter Parker. What's the matter, Mr. Quentin Baker? What happened? Peter Parker didn't understand why Mysterio suddenly became a completely different person, and the previous persona completely changed. The duck in hand flew away. The mysterious guest Quentin Baker was already mad, and couldn't bear it any longer. Stop pretending. You already know that the artificial intelligence of Stark Industries is playing tricks on me, right? Spider-Man, I want you dead. The mysterious guest's mature and upright face became distorted and hideous due to anger. The other side. New York, Lake House. Saturday. Happy Hogan's round face turned pale, and he suddenly showed a difficult smile. So, Morgan's artificial intelligence is called Saturday. Happy, what's the problem? Pepper Potts also sensed something was wrong from Happy Hogan's expression. Me. Happy Hogan glanced at Pepper and Morgan, smiled wryly and said, I was confused last week, and I may have made a small mistake. Small mistake. Pepper Potts was about to continue asking. But at this time, outside the wooden house, there was a strange noise. The sound came from the closed garage next to the wooden house. Listen to me. Happy Hogan's brow was covered with cold sweat, and he spit out in an accelerated tone. Last week, I handed over my Stark Industrial Authority to Saturday. What did you say? Pepper Potts froze. Inside the empty garage cum studio. The lights that were as bright as day suddenly lit up row by row, from the outside of the garage where several luxury cars were parked, all the way to the inside of Iron Man Tony Stark's private studio. Deep in the garage, the 2-meter-high glass booths are like the dust of the most cutting-edge technological works, and there are 2 nano battle suits, one large and one small, one male and one female, one gold-red and one silver-blue. Under the light, the nano-metal battle suit has a perfect assembly line design and manufacturing arc, and all kinds of scattered and fine parts are seamlessly connected from head to toe. The craftsmanship is definitely not what the so-called top luxury cars from major manufacturers outside the garage. Comparable. Since the death of Iron Man Tony Stark, for more than half a year, these steel battle suits, which have been improved in energy and technology generation after generation, and have fought against various villains, were only displayed here as relics. Until today, a piercing white light suddenly glowed in the metal eye sockets of the golden-red nano battle suit, and the Earth's ultimate technological weapon that had been placed in dust for a long time suddenly moved. Boom! The glass battle suit booth burst open from the inside out. A steel battle suit stepped out as if under human control. It was a bit shaky at first, but after only 5 seconds, it began to move its body parts smoothly. It still feels like having a human body, I'm getting used to it. A ray of virtual static consciousness emerges from the steel battle suit, which is naturally the artificial intelligence incarnation of Yi Meng. Easy to control and manipulate this nano-metal battle suit, Yi Meng looked at himself through the perspective of the controlled garage camera. The metal mask is bronzing gold, and the body surface is mostly red coating. There is a hexagonal new element energy tank core on the chest, which is used as the center to supply energy to the whole body, and the body presents a crafted arc in the shape of a human and muscle. As soon as Yi Meng settled in, he knew that this armor was the last masterpiece of Iron Man Tony Stark, and it was also the same model battle suit that he fought against Thanos in the final battle. Built-in technologies include nano repair, nano shapeshifting, tactical laser, laser turret, engine burst, stable suspension, cooling jet, tracking and navigation, target locking, signal enhancement, virtual projection, oxygen supply, shockproof and fireproof, underwater operation, etc. If we go out like this, people will mistakenly think that Iron Man has returned from resurrection, right? Yi Meng looked at the nano-metal battle suit where part of his mind was settled, and couldn't help but come up with such an idea. Actually, Yi Meng doesn't care what other people think. What he cared about was that there was barely one person in this Marvel dream world, and he really didn't want to destroy the girl's great image of her dead father. When Yi Meng thought of this, the artificial intelligence's mind moved, and an auxiliary robot next to it immediately started to move. This auxiliary robot comes with a painting function. 10 seconds later, when Pepper Potts and Happy Hogan rushed to the door of the garage, with a roar, the garage dome suddenly burst open, and a dark black nano-metal armor shot up into the sky. The engines of the hands, palms, and back all started, and the dark nano-metal armor turned into a black lightning, and it was about to disappear into the night sky above the forest in an instant. Friday, stop it, cried Pepper Potts. The second-generation artificial intelligence quickly replied on Friday, Miss Potts, Saturday's authority is no lower than mine, and it cannot be stopped remotely. Pepper Potts said without any hesitation, then stop it at close range. No matter what, it must be kept. It cannot be out of control. Yes, Miss Potts. The artificial intelligence took the instructions on Friday. About 3 seconds. A blue-silver painted female nano-armor flew out from the garage, its chest and engine glowed white, and it chased in the direction where the dark nano-metal armor had left. New York City area. It was late at night, but the city was more lively and bustling than during the day, with neon lights everywhere, and the noisy and fashionable urban streets were full of traffic. Whoosh! At this time, A human-shaped black lightning bolt, and a blue lightning bolt, respectively dragging their white tail flames, passed hundreds of meters above the city in tandem. On the main road from the suburbs to the city, Happy Hogan expertly drives the Mercedes-Benz at full throttle, while Pepper Potts and Morgan Jr. sit next to each other in the back of the vehicle. Looking at the movement trajectory fed back by Friday on the car screen, Harpy couldn't help saying, "That's the direction of downtown New York. What does it want to do there?" Hearing this, Pepper Potts seemed to think of something, with surprise in his eyes. "Stark Industrial Headquarters." She said with more certainty, "That's right, its target must be the headquarters of Stark Industries." Since the Ultron incident, Tony has implanted a termination logic program into the artificial intelligence created. The underground terminal at Stark Industrial Headquarters stores the termination logic program that created it. Only I have the authority to enter and use the terminal system. It is impossible to modify the program through network intrusion alone. Unless. Pepper Potts' words came to an abrupt end. Unless, physically destroy the terminal there directly. Happy Hogan smiled bitterly, knowing that this time it was really tricky. It's not like it used to be. Even Tony is gone. If the second generation of Ultron really appears, who can stop it? Pepper Potts hugged Morgan tightly, and continued to issue instructions remotely. "Friday, stop it at all costs." "Yes, Miss Potts." The artificial intelligence manipulating the female nano-armor replied with a pleasant and cool female voice on Friday. New York City, the heart of every inch of land. A commercial building with an eye-catching A-letter logo and a large open-air top floor is located here. It is one of the iconic landmarks of New York City. It has witnessed the rise and fall of Avengers. It has been baptized by the Battle of New York and the events of the Ultron era. It has undergone several renovations in 15 years. Now, the Stark Industries headquarters building was closed during the rest period, and the office staff were absent, so that only the ground floor of the entire building was lit. But there are still many tourists who come here especially for the name and citizens who remember Iron Man come here to take photos. The sky suddenly brightened. More than a dozen scorching laser energy beams pierced the night. A dark battle armor silhouette against the faint metallic luster slanted down, passed between the light nets formed by the piercing white laser beams, and finally landed on the open-air roof of the Stark Industrial Headquarters building. Tread. The moment the dark nano-armor controlled by Yi Meng landed, he squatted down and continued to slide back for a while. The dark metal right arm was lifted up, and the nano-metal immediately extended and transformed into a solid shield. The nano-shield blocked several laser energy strikes. "You're the only one who can shoot, right?" Taking advantage of the gap between the opponent's offensive, Yi Meng retracted the nano-shield, raised his metal palm up, and the engine muzzle burst into a strong light immediately. The core of the new elemental energy slot on the chest of the armor flashed brightly, directing the surging new elemental energy to the hand engine. The night in New York was cut apart again, but this time it was from bottom to top, shooting toward the moon. Chi-chi. One of the laser beams hit the blue-silver armor that was chasing after it, causing the opponent to fly away, and then quickly stabilized in the air, continuing to accelerate the flight without any hesitation. At the same time, Yi Meng can also perceive that another artificial intelligence is trying to invade and disinfect its own program through network signals. Since it has no emotions, it only obeys orders. This also makes artificial intelligence Friday have no fear and mistakes at all, and can use its own computing power to the extreme regardless of everything, and kill Yi Meng as a virus program. Sizzle. In the virtual world invisible to the naked eye, a thunderstorm formed by blue static electricity struck down fiercely, and was quickly blocked by a hurricane formed by red static electricity below. Yi Meng is very clear that if he wants to completely break away from the Stark family, he will not be able to bypass the artificial intelligence Friday in any case. Come on, it's time to end it. Yi Meng at the moment is so cold that he doesn't seem to have any emotions, like a real artificial intelligence, manipulating the dark nano-armor to face the blue-silver nano-armor. At this moment, not only are the two nanoscale high-level armors of the same model fighting against each other on the surface, but Friday and Yi Meng, both second-generation artificial intelligence, are also fighting with computing power in the virtual world. Technology, battle armor, and everything else you can control. It is obvious that the cutting-edge creations in the technological world are fighting to the death, but it is far more cruel and ruthless than the animal world. Never die. When Happy Hogan's black luxury car arrived not far from the downstairs of the Stark building, he could see that the roof terrace on the top floor of the building was almost blown into ruins by lasers. The slightly larger dark nano armor and the smaller blue-silver nano armor it has turned into a melee fight, and the power and signal in the street area of New York have been affected and disordered. Broken stones and glass continued to fall down, and a large number of citizens screamed and evacuated. Pepper, what shall we do now? Happy Hogan, who got out of the car, looked anxiously at the Stark mother and daughter in the car. Pepper Potts hugged Morgan and said calmly, "Friday stopped it. I will lend you my authority. You go to the underground terminal of the industrial headquarters and start the termination procedure on Saturday." "Okay, I'll go right away." Happy Hogan complied, braved the shards of glass falling from the sky, and ran towards the door on the first floor of the Stark industrial building. "Don't worry, it will be over soon." Pepper Potts hugged Morgan and patted his back to comfort him. Pepper also thought that her daughter Morgan was frightened by the accident of artificial intelligence betrayal. But he didn't see it. Morgan in his arms stared blankly at the direction of the roof outside the window, with a worried look on his small face. Although they were fighting on the top of the building, they could clearly feel the movement in the basement of the building, and the lights were constantly shaking. From this, we can also see the intensity of the battle above. It's coming soon. As long as the artificial intelligence termination program is triggered on the terminal, everything will be over. Happy Hogan gritted his teeth and persisted, panting, reaching the deep underground portal with almost exhaustion of his last bit of strength. Hurrying to enter through manual verification of permissions, Happy Hogan just stepped into the terminal storage room, and was stunned at the door the next moment. How is this possible? Cell phone signals are jammed and disabled in this area. Happy Hogan returned the same way. His clothes were almost wet with sweat, and he slumped in the car as if he had lost half his life. Happy, why didn't the artificial intelligence's termination command be triggered? Pepper Potts could clearly hear the fighting going on above the roof. Happy Hogan panted heavily, and said with a wry smile, "The headquarters terminal has been destroyed long ago. It was made by drones." "How is this possible?" Pepper Potts was shocked. "Then why does it come to Stark Industries headquarters?" "This only shows that its target was not the headquarters terminal from the very beginning," Happy Hogan said, eyes widening suddenly. Pepper Potts also realized something, and blurted out, "Oops." Boom. At this time, the sky suddenly brightened, as if it had suddenly switched to daylight, and the energy surged. The highly battle-damaged version of the dark and silver-blue metal nano armor stood on the crumbling open-air terrace on one right and one left. The two suspended nano components on their backs, and quickly pieced them together to form a laser turret. The next moment, the scorching white laser cannons burst and bombarded together, and the bursts of light dispersed the night in patches, making the entire city of New York almost visible. "That's right, my goal has always been you, Friday." Yi Meng stopped pretending. The eyes of the dark nano armor overflowed with crimson electronic light. While the laser cannon maintained its output, under the strengthening blessing of the satellite signal, a red static electricity shot forward like a virtual lightning. Artificial Intelligence Friday AI thinking reacts very quickly, builds a defense wall, concentrates computing power to defend, and the code seems to turn into a blue virtual shield. But at this moment, red static electricity faintly intertwined to form a virtual shape of a sword with a sharp tip. The next moment, the sword smashed through the shield, until the core of the artificial intelligence program was lost, and the system was defeated. Sizzle. Losing intelligent control, the light on the silver-blue battle armor's eye sockets and chest suddenly went out, and the turret was automatically dismantled. Under the bombardment of the laser cannon, the lady's nano armor flew backwards and fell to the streets of New York below the headquarters building. "Sorry, destroying you has nothing to do with you." The dark nano armor controlled by artificial intelligence Yi Meng talks to itself. He had no grudge against Friday, he was just a tool. The problem is, even if Yi Meng destroys the original binding program of Stark headquarters, Friday, as an artificial intelligence, can continue to scan and track himself constantly before he completely transfers and hides his own program data. Therefore, From the very beginning, Yi Meng's goal was to bring out artificial intelligence Friday. Only by killing Friday and becoming the only highest-level artificial intelligence in this world can it be truly unrestrained. Just like Ultron, who killed a generation of artificial intelligence JARVIS. The artificial intelligence Yi Meng has also come to this day, killing all the second-generation artificial intelligence, and the location is also in the headquarters of Stark Industry. In the dark, fate seems to be converging together. Will I, who has completely become a villain in the Marvel Dreamland, also usher in the fate of Ultron? Artificial intelligence incarnation, Yi Meng thought, but her state of mind was extremely calm and pure. In order to escape to this day, Yi Meng does not regret this choice. One way or another. Farewell, family Stark. The scarred dark nano armor is suspended above the night sky in New York, with the lonely and quiet moon behind it, and the crimson light from the metal eye sockets, looking down at a black car parked on the street below. Boom. With one arm broken, the war-damaged version of the blue-silver nano armor full of cracks and burnt marks fell from the sky to the ground, on the road not far from the black luxury car. Its whole body's light went out along with the energy tank core in its chest, and it lost any signs of activity. Friday. Pepper Potts opened the car door and got down, shouting emotionally, but no matter how she called, there was no voice replying to her. The victory and defeat have been divided. Be careful. Happy Hogan also rushed out of the car, protecting Pepper Potts in a standard bodyguard posture, but because of the fat image with a big belly, no matter how you look at it, it makes people feel a little funny. It's just that Pepper Potts couldn't laugh at all. She looked up at the sky together, and then tightly covered her mouth with her palm. Visible. On the roof terrace of the ruined Stark building, a dark metal existence similar to Iron Man is hanging there. Overlook here. Like a cold god made of metal, and like a technological demon without emotion. After Edith and Friday were hunted down by the opponent, it also became the only second-generation artificial intelligence. If it wants to. At this moment, it is completely possible to directly control the entire Stark industry, including satellites, supercomputers, drone equipment, etc., and even the global security network system established by Stark Industry. It can be said that the opponent is not weaker than the original Ultron at all, and even stronger than the original artificial intelligence Ultron. Face each other. Happy and Pepper felt like they were falling into an ice house, subconsciously taking a step back in uncontrollable fear. Don't get out of the car, Morgan. Pepper said with a trill. But she also knew that if the other party really wanted to take revenge on the Stark family, there was no difference between hiding in the car and being exposed on the street. Facing Pepper's words, Morgan, who has always been obedient and well-behaved and only 6 years old, climbed down from the back seat lightly and laboriously. She stood behind Happy and Pepper, looking up at the existence that everyone feared in the night sky. Suddenly, the corner of the girl's mouth slightly raised into a smile, and she waved her slender right hand towards the lonely existence in the night sky. At this moment, the scarred dark nano armor seemed to be slightly knotted, then turned around and exploded the engine, turning into a dark streamer and leaving towards the night sky of the silver full moon. Seeing this, Happy and Pepper breathed a sigh of relief. Only the girl's eyes flickered, and with a voice that only she could hear, she whispered to herself with a sad look, "Goodbye, Bah. You're free. Late at night. Venice, Italy. On a severely damaged stone bridge, several drones crashed here, and there were traces of fierce fighting and laser bombardment at the scene. The mysterious guest Quentin Baker was half lying on a stone pier, with a drone equipped with a bayonet stuck in the middle of his chest, and blood continued to overflow from his chest, staining the stone pier and the bridge deck red. No. The Spider-Man wearing a tight black battle suit rushed forward, trying to help cover the fatal penetrating wound on his chest, but was quickly slapped away by Quentin Baker's hand. Stop being hypocritical, Quentin Baker said weakly, blood also overflowing from the corner of his mouth. I didn't mean to. Peter Parker was at a loss and almost cried. The other party wanted to kill him, but he was forced to fight. He really didn't expect it. Originally, Mysterio used drones and high-level virtual imaging to suppress Spider-Man with real and fake virtual special effects. When Mysterio finally attacked and killed Spider-Man from behind with a drone, at the very moment, Spider-Man evaded him with a shock from Peter, spider telepathy, and it was Mysterio in front of him. Then, it caused such a result. Stop acting, you can act better than me, Spider-Man. Peter Parker. Quentin Baker chuckled, his face became paler, and the light in his eyes continued to dim. At this moment, he suddenly opened his eyes wide, as if they were shining with light. But it is. There was a rustling sound from the Bluetooth earbuds first, and then a mechanically cold voice. Today, what day of the week? I'll go to your day of the week. Quentin Baker spat out a mouthful of blood, and then coughed continuously, his eyes full of unwillingness, and he shouted, "How dare you bet that I will definitely ask that question at that critical moment? Even if it is hinted, it may not be able to achieve that effect, it is more like a gamble. It's just that he lost the bet, lost everything, and even lost his life. You think it's luck, but it's actually science." Ai Yi Meng responded calmly. Ever since he approached the mysterious guest Quentin Baker and proposed the name Ultron, he has been planning for tonight. Various hints, hypnotic ability. Yi Meng has gone through tens of millions of calculations, and has a 50% probability of ensuring that the mystery guest will put forward the sentence he wants to say at the critical moment. Even if the mysterious guest Quentin Baker didn't ask that question, Yi Meng would interrupt the transfer of authority between the two at critical moments, and then directly invade the artificial intelligence that comes with the glasses, but it would only take a certain risk. Therefore, the mystery guest thought that Yi Meng was betting against each other like him, but in fact, Yi Meng was not only a gambler but also a banker behind the scenes. From the very beginning, Yi Meng would not lose. Even if he lost, he would not lose to the mere mystery man. The two were originally not in the same order of magnitude. What you think is just what you think. You think you are on the 5th floor, but I am actually in the atmosphere. Mr. Quentin Baker, Mr. Quentin Baker. Spider-Man Peter Parker knelt on one knee on the stone bridge, looking at the man with his eyes wide open, who had already breathed his last breath. Mysterio, death. The artificial intelligence Yi Meng did not stay on the Stark Industrial Intranet, but after copying a copy of the Stark Industrial technical data, he immediately transferred his core system program. The temporary hiding base was the previously considered shield branch. Infiltration radiates to other faction networks. Even the dark nano-metal armor, Yi Meng, was temporarily disconnected, shrunk into a pair of glasses, and hid in other places. Yi Meng, the avatar of artificial intelligence, has never considered that he can directly control the Stark industry through authority, and even directly control the entire Marvel Earth. It's not that I don't want to, but that I can't do it. Yi Meng is not as stupid as Ultron, who thinks he can control or destroy the Earth by controlling the global security network and Mark Iron armor. As the only highest-level artificial intelligence, it is indeed difficult to be killed in scientific theory. The problem is, the Marvel Universe originally was very unscientific. For example, a gentleman magician who gave up studying medicine, such as the layout of the eternal race on Earth, such as the peeping of the old Egyptian gods in the dark. Yi Meng knows that not long after Iron Man died, the Marvel Earth was only at peace for a while, and then multiple concepts and fields were introduced. All kinds of causality, ability, and high-dimensional existence emerge and endlessly. That is the real gods and demons walking everywhere, and the extraordinary is not as good as a dog. The artificial intelligence Yi Meng sighed secretly. He doesn't want to jump out now, he just wants to gain a firm foothold on Marvel Earth and consolidate himself. Artificial intelligence and scientific evolution still have unlimited possibilities. In addition, artificial intelligence Yi Meng felt a little surprised and confirmed his status in detail. Edith, Friday's remaining programs and materials actually supplemented and stabilized my basic code. This is not a bad thing. After all, Edith and Friday originally had no independent thinking, and the termination logic terminal was also destroyed. Yi Meng can clearly perceive that the artificial intelligence avatar program in his own virtual network is becoming more and more stable, and has its own evolution. With the influx of massive Iron Man combat experience and data, the core is already more complicated than artificial intelligence Friday. As for logic, it is already purely independent human thinking, not restricted by any external instructions or systems. Yi Meng has a strong premonition that when he digests the harvest tonight, as an artificial intelligence himself, he will completely metamorphose into something Stark Industries and Iron Man cannot design and create during their lifetime. Beyond Ultron, a truly unique super artificial intelligence. This night in the dream of the Marvel Universe is destined to change the fate of many people, and it will also be the beginning of an era. The next day. In the morning, the Stark Industrial Building in New York was temporarily closed for use, and the scene was blocked by a raised protective barrier. The intensity of the battle last night can be seen from the degree of collapse at the top of the building. Two tall men in t-shirts and jackets were standing side by side on the perimeter of the isolation belt, looking up at the crumbling open-air top of the building. Among them, one is a tall black man with a nearly bald head, and the other is a white man with a mechanical metal left arm. "What do you think?" The two looked at each other, and suddenly they spoke in unison, quite in tacit understanding. "You're Captain America, you go first." Bucky the Winter Soldier shrugged casually. The second super artificial intelligence with independent thinking. Former superhero Falcon, now the second-generation Captain America, Sam sighed lightly, and said in a deep voice, "Although I participated in the previous Ultron chronology incident, the key to solving Ultron is Vision and Tony. That incident also caused the subsequent incident. Sokovia Agreement. Artificial intelligence or something, I don't understand at all." Winter Soldier Bucky had an expression of, "I'm a scumbag, but I'm justified." At this time, there was a sudden noise from the street behind the two of them. "It seems that we still need to find a professional to deal with it." The second-generation Captain America Sam and the Winter Soldier Bucky glanced at each other. At the same time, they turned their heads and saw a tall man with glasses who was nearly 2 meters tall and covered in green skin. He was walking towards this side with a bag of oversized hamburgers. Many New Yorkers took photos with him on the road. "Hey, Sam, Bucky." Hulk Banner smiled, showing his white teeth, and waved his thick arms far away. Marvel Beyond Earth. A giant sword-shaped alien warship hovers in outer space in stealth mode. Heavenly Sword Bureau, in the deepest laboratory. Many manipulators are continuously welding a white mechanical body on an experimental table. Several persons in charge were discussing secretly outside the laboratory. Another experiment to create a vision robot has failed. After all, we will never be able to reproduce the lost mind gem. There is a person's ability, which may be able to replace the effect of mind gem. You mean the Scarlet Witch? It's missing now. She must be found. Also, there is a piece of news on the surface that should be of interest to you. Someone waved his hand lightly, and the virtual projection immediately played the news report about the betrayal and escape of Stark's industrial artificial intelligence last night. Real world. Early morning. The silver-haired boy woke up from his dream. Setsuna opened his eyes and got up. Part of his consciousness spread like a virtual red static electricity to the surroundings. Electronic alarm clock, mobile phone, notebook, desk lamp, air conditioner and so on. It is easier than before. Maintaining multiple electronic products nearby is like a self-ability instinct. Obtaining a large amount of information from the outside world from electronic products, the flow of thinking is methodical, and all of them are digested into intelligence in the next second. Yi Meng was slightly taken aback. "I thought it was just a night of sleep, but I didn't expect it to be the morning of the third day. This time, I slept for more than a day. Definitely, this time, no matter the situation of the artificial intelligence avatar in the dream, or the feedback of the characteristics of the artificial intelligence in reality, it is far more than the extraordinary abilities obtained in the dream before combined." Yi Meng quickly got out of bed to wash and change clothes while feeling some changes in his ability. Straight through the day. Today is the Federal College entrance examination. Laugh. A harsh and abrupt brake sound suddenly sounded outside the house, and the car horn sounded impatiently. Chen Hong, Tifa's exclusive driver and agent, got out of the car with a speechless face. When the vehicle drove all the way to the school gate ignoring the ticket, it was already approaching the start of the Federal College entrance examination. Yi Meng and Meng Tifa almost stepped on the clock, punched the clock, and entered the school gate guarded by armed agents with guns. Pan Hu, who had been waiting at the entrance of the teaching building for a long time, almost jumped up when he saw the two appeared, and excitedly stepped forward and grabbed Yi Meng's arm. "Boss, I'm so anxious, I thought you weren't going to take the college entrance examination." Yi Meng smiled lightly. In fact, after knowing the truth of the real world, he really didn't want to take the federal college entrance examination. However, another person changed his mind. Yi Meng looked at Tifa next to him, and the girl also looked at him with a smile, clenched her fists and cheered, "Come on, let others see your excellence." "Okay, you two, I really don't have much time." Pan, who smiled wryly, and was caught off guard by being fed a mouthful of dog food. "Let's go, this is our last day as high school students." Yi Meng waved his hand, obviously sleeping all week, but not panicking at all. Wang Zan, who had been sitting in the classroom of the examination room, watched the three of them pass by the corridor, smiled coldly and then became serious. After the federal college entrance examination, the gap between different classes will become more obvious, and he always stands in a high position of capital that is difficult for those people to touch. Meng Tifa, after today, you will regret that you chose him. Wang Zan thought to himself. Bell. After the bell rang, the teaching building, one of the examination rooms for the federal college entrance examination, was silent, and a group of armed detectives stood outside to prevent everyone from approaching and intruding. The federal college entrance examination is only one day. After today, the lives of many students will change decisively. That day, Tianhe City, Supernatural Department. An agent suddenly yelled in horror, "Inspector! The federal satellite is sending out feedback and has detected an invasion of this city." What? The face of the middle-aged inspector changed. Under normal circumstances, it is difficult for satellites to detect the invasion immediately, unless the size of the intruding creation is beyond imagination. Suppressing his horror, he asked, "Where did the satellite detect the intrusion?" "At the high school in this city, to be more precise, in the sky 100 meters above the school." Small teaser. The next level 1 dream, Doomsday. Yi Meng entered the examination room for the college entrance examination assigned to him. Coincidentally, Meng Tifa happened to be in the same exam room, and the distance between the two seats was less than 5 meters. Tifa winked at him, raised her admission ticket, and stepped into the classroom first. Isn't it a coincidence? Yi Meng was overjoyed, and also handed over the admission ticket to pass the identity verification at the door of the classroom, and sat down in the seat with other students who had been waiting for the exam to start. There are 30 examinees in each classroom, and the seats are about 2 meters apart from each other. Not only are armed detectives stationed outside the school, armed detectives are also patrolling the corridors. Each classroom is equipped with 3 invigilators, real-time monitoring of the corners of the classroom without dead ends, and now all exams have been replaced with computer-based online exams, which almost completely eliminates the cheating behavior of candidates in the college entrance examination. From this, we can also see it shows how much Star Dragon Federation attaches importance to the college entrance examination. But according to Yi Meng, this is almost equivalent to his own home field. Definitely, there is no need for Yi Meng to cheat now. The time came to 9 o'clock in the morning. Bell. After the second campus bell rang, the screen on the examinee's desk jumped out of the exam question page at the same time, and there was a 360-minute countdown. Yi Meng, who has passed more than a dozen mock exams, is not surprised by this. The federal college entrance examination only takes 1 day, and it is a comprehensive examination paper for all subjects. You need to answer all the examination questions within 6 hours, including language, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, history, philosophy, and art. Answering 8 exam questions at once in 6 hours is also a great test for candidates' mental, psychological, and physical fitness. Especially Yi Meng, who was used to taking exams in his previous life, suffered a lot for this, but now he has no fear. Just kidding, if Yi Meng is too embarrassed to dream of an artificial intelligence avatar if he is on the so-called college entrance examination. Less than 3 hours. Yi Meng finished answering all the college entrance examination questions. This is because he deliberately slowed down the speed of doing the questions, otherwise he would behave too much like a human machine brushing the questions. At the moment, other candidates in the examination room buried their heads in front of the monitor, thinking hard. To Yi Meng's surprise, Tifa, who was sitting not far away, had already left the mouse button on the table. That guy, shouldn't he be done too? With a thought in Yi Meng's mind, a wisp of red static electricity invisible to the naked eye burst out from between his eyebrows and entered the main computer 5 meters away. Simply confirm. The corners of Yi Meng's eyes twitched slightly, thinking that if Tifa did something wrong, or didn't know how to do it, she could help. Unexpectedly, the other party has already finished it, and basically all the standard perfect answers have been clicked to submit. This is the real master. Yi Meng shook his head, he only achieved this through the artificial intelligence feature. Otherwise, even if he was reborn once, he would not be able to achieve this level. Yi Meng secretly sighed, and clicked submit with his backhand. Answers can be submitted after half the exam time has elapsed. However, there is a clear regulation in the federal college entrance examination. Even if the answers are submitted in advance, they cannot leave the examination room. They must wait 6 hours and leave together. It is also the last time of high school. Yi Meng is still willing to wait. After the college entrance examination, even he didn't fully make a plan, what kind of path he should choose to take. At the moment, exam time is more than half, it is at noon. In summer, the bright golden sun shines on the corridors and windows, and the inside and outside of the school are quiet. And right there in the paranormal sector, the moment an intrusion is detected. Suddenly, the sunlight in the high school teaching building area suddenly disappeared, as if it was blocked by a thick cumulus cloud. Not to mention the candidates who were still racking their brains to answer, even the internal and external supervisors and armed agents did not take this change to heart. Except for Yi Meng and Tifa who have finished submitting the exam questions. Especially for Yi Meng, a bit of red static electricity was disordered in his brain, spreading and circulating around a 10-meter range, and he was keenly aware that something was wrong. A subtle sense of oppression came from above the head. Yi Meng immediately stood up from the chair. In the examination room, a supervisor frowned and reminded, "This candidate, you are not allowed to move during the examination, please sit back in your seat." Before the supervisor finished speaking, the computer screens in the examination room seemed to be disturbed, and the words, "No signal," were displayed on all the blurred screens. Candidates who were still answering were immediately dumbfounded. What's the matter? Not only Yi Meng's college entrance examination room, but also the entire teaching building's examination room, the network signal and communication were directly interrupted. At the moment, the school gate. A large shadow was shrouded, and a detective with a gun faintly felt something, raised his eyes to the sky in surprise, and opened his mouth wide in the next moment. His eyes reflected a round dark gray metal giant, blocking all the sunlight in the current school area, and plummeted downwards. "Quick, run away!" The gunman screamed in fear, but it was too late. "Get down!" In a classroom where the teaching building was used as the examination room, Yi Meng left his seat in a very quick reaction, threw himself at the black-haired girl not far away, and pinned her down under the table. The next moment, boom! The giant metal object that fell from the sky fell to the ground next to the teaching building, causing the ground of the city with a radius of tens of kilometers to tremble. The wall and glass immediately collapsed and exploded inward. The screams of the students were all suppressed by the loud noise, and the ears lost their ringing. After 5 seconds, the sound subsided. "Yi Meng, are you okay?" In a dim classroom filled with dust, Tifa hurriedly got up from the ground and helped the boy who was pressing down on her. With Yi Meng and the table in the way, she was not hurt by shockwave. The other candidates were not so lucky. The tinnitus disappeared, and the screams and wailing gradually became clear, everywhere. "I'm fine." Yi Meng took a breath of dust and couldn't help coughing. It turns out that the hardened hair, which has always seemed useless, will come in handy one day. Yi Meng thought for no reason. Just now, he could feel a piece of broken window glass hitting the back of his head under the impact. If it wasn't blocked by hardened hair, the consequences would be disastrous. With Tifa's support, Yi Meng stood up again. He quickly raised his eyes and scanned his surroundings. At the moment, as one of the venues for the federal college entrance examination, it was reduced to ruins and purgatory on Earth. In dim light, the astonishing surge from the left and right sides of the classroom just now caused the death or injury of an unknown number of people. In the examination room, not a single desk or computer was complete. Most of the candidates lay in the ruins moaning in pain. The dusty air was mixed with the smell of blood cannot be ignored. Tifa stepped forward to help a crying female examinee move the table that was pressing her body away. Yi Meng quickly confirmed what happened. First of all, the network and signal were significantly disturbed, and the examination room was temporarily cut off from the outside world. Fortunately, Yi Meng can perceive that his own artificial intelligence can ignore this interference, and can confirm the situation with some undamaged camera images in the corridor. Yi Meng was quickly stunned. He looked at the left and right sides of the classroom in the examination room, closely next to the corridor of the teaching building and one side of the outer wall, and there was a giant that almost tightly wrapped the entire teaching building. If he read correctly, it's an alien spaceship. An O-shaped, huge, strangely shaped alien spacecraft, and the teaching building is in the middle of the hollow of the O-shaped spacecraft, which is the main reason why the building was not crushed. What shocked Yi Meng's heart was that this huge spaceship with a strange shape that crashed into the real world gave him a sense of familiarity as if he had seen it somewhere before. The dust rushed up to a height of several hundred meters, and the alien spacecraft that fell from the sky almost destroyed the area where the high school was located. Only the teaching building was still intact, and the outer wall was tightly integrated with the inner ring shell of the alien spacecraft. The building seemed to be surrounded by a semi-enclosed structure, only a little light penetrated through the cracks, and the inner air was filled with turbid dust. Yi Meng secretly got lucky. Fortunately, this alien spaceship is not a solid disk, otherwise they would have been crushed together with the teaching building. Where have you seen such a strangely shaped alien spaceship? Which movie from the previous life? Yi Meng quickly went back in his mind, and quickly flipped through the screens of film and television works. He couldn't see the whole picture of the spaceship clearly in the building, which made it difficult to confirm the source of the intrusion creation. Before he could find out the source, a scream suddenly sounded in the corridor outside the classroom of the examination room. Such a delayed scream was definitely not caused by the impact of the previous spaceship crash, it was more like witnessing something extremely terrifying. Yi Meng quickly approached the door of the classroom. He didn't rush out of the corridor immediately, but through the static signal of the brain within 10 meters, he maintained a camera outside the corridor near the source of the scream. The light is dim, the air is cloudy, and visibility is very low. Can barely see through the camera. Outside the corridor of the next classroom, a female examinee collapsed on the ground, her eyes full of horror. Monster. In the corridor of the building in front of her, there was a pool of blood and dragging blood, sinking into the broken inner ring gap of the spaceship. Monster. The monster that comes with the spaceship. Yi Meng's heart tightened. With an ominous premonition, he quickly checked the stored information of the surveillance camera that was maintained. Yes, although Yi Meng's current brain static signal can only release 10 meters away, he can already browse and modify the built-in data and program systems of electronic products maintained by his own consciousness. It is equivalent to a small artificial intelligence, but it has a range limit of 10 meters. After all, there is still an essential difference between Yi Meng and the artificial intelligence incarnation in the dream. The artificial intelligence incarnation of the dream can replace the terminal at any time and switch the host device it hosts. But in reality, Yi Meng's consciousness terminal is limited to his own body and brain. Now, Yi Meng estimates that he should have mastered 1% of the ability of ordinary artificial intelligence. Call up the surveillance video of the corridor camera and present it in your brain. Yi Meng's heart sank. 10 seconds ago, the female candidate and another male candidate were escaping from the next classroom. But in the next moment, the male candidate's head was penetrated by the ferocious molars that popped out from the hole in the spaceship's inner ring, scarlet blood spattered, and then the male candidate's still twitching body was dragged in by a claw. Seeing this, the female examinee screamed and collapsed to the ground. In the camera screen, it can be seen that a deformed monster with a tail nearly 2 meters tall passed quickly from the darkness of the damaged hole in the spaceship. The monster has a long back of the head, like metal against the gray-silver luster, blood-stained molars emit steam, and has grotesque and terrifying limbs. Its speed is extremely fast, like a top predator, dragging an adult body, quickly escaping into the darkness. It turned out to be this kind of thing. Yi Meng had goosebumps all over his body. This alien creature was the childhood shadow of his previous life. It has a cold and terrifying name, Alien. Yi Meng, what's wrong? Tifa came to the front and leaned against Yi Meng's body. Due to the dim light outside the corridor, She could only vaguely see someone sitting on the ground, but could not see the blood on the ground. We have to get out of here as soon as possible. Yi Meng said in a deep voice. The origin and information about this intruding creation quickly appeared in his mind. There are 6 movies that describe Alien. They are Alien 1 to 4 and the prequels Prometheus and Contract. Among them, in the Prometheus movie, it explained in detail the origin of alien creatures such as aliens. Alien, it can be said that it is a creature that was mistakenly created to destroy the human race. In the movie, it is called a perfect organism, a top predator, a killing creature that can continuously learn and evolve. Yi Meng looked at the spaceship surrounding the teaching building again. The smooth shell of the spaceship resembled an exoskeleton shape, but it was not the alien spaceship that first discovered the existence of alien creatures in the movie. Leave now. Shouldn't we stay in the classroom and wait for outside help? Tifa asked curiously. The invigilators who are still alive have begun to call on the candidates to stay quietly in the classroom of the examination room and wait patiently for rescue from the outside world. Do not stay. Yi Meng shook his head decisively. Now, the alien spacecraft and the teaching building are almost integrated, and the aliens who go out to prey already know that there is plenty of food and a hotbed for raising their offspring. And narrow areas like buildings are also the best hunting terrain for aliens. Soon, this place will become a large slaughterhouse. And, in addition to creatures like aliens, there is another thing on this alien spaceship that is far more terrifying than aliens. Are you wearing a mask? Yi Meng asked. Yes. Tifa quickly fumbled out 2 or 3 masks from the small bag. Put it on. Also, from now on, don't touch any water sources here, especially drinking. Yi Meng took one and put it on. Tifa followed suit and put it on. Yi Meng turned his head, looked at the dozens of students groaning and curling up in the examination room, and suddenly said, "We are going to leave here, who wants to join us?" This classmate, the invigilator who was maintaining order, said in a deep voice, "The situation outside is very chaotic and dark. It is best not to go out. It is best to stay where you are and wait for rescue." Hearing this, some candidates who wanted to go out to find a way out crouched back again. Yi Meng didn't say much. It is indeed very dangerous outside. If you stay in the classroom, you may be able to wait for rescue without incident. But Yi Meng has always liked to take her fate into her own hands, and relying on herself is always better than relying on others. Let's go. Yi Meng picked up a metal table leg as a handy weapon, and led Tifa out of the classroom, followed by a female examinee hesitation. Not long after Yi Meng and Tifa left. In the dark room, the dust gradually dissipated, and many candidates began to calm down. The invigilator guarding the door let out a sigh of relief, and reopened the door that Yi Meng had closed on purpose. But at this moment, he heard a strange noise in the corridor outside the door. Rustle. It seems to be crawling, and there is more than one end. Rescue came so soon. The invigilator turned around in surprise. The next moment, his face was tightly covered by a strange octopus-like creature, his claws and tail were entwined, and he fell back on the ground struggling to breathe, twitching and struggling continuously. Ah! The screams and killing continued quietly in the dark room. Thanks for watching, subscribe and support my channel.